might not understand it. You might not know how it all works. You might not know how the algorithm works today, and even what the breadth of the opportunity is. It's like, just get started. I like helping people, and this looks like a way I can maybe help people more credibly.
When you help enough people, you're going to actually get what you're looking for.
Oh my gosh, this blew them away. This was so valuable for them. It paid more than some people make in several months of work. So I was like, it was again through connections, it was through being available, being accessible, and genuinely wanting to help people. As more and more people are entering the space, like, you gotta be good at what you do. Views for our clients so far that organically on YouTube that we can take credit for, and this has been a wild ride to get to where we are here today.
Hey, welcome to Scaling with Confidence. I'm Olu Sobanjo, entrepreneur, coach, consultant, and pastor, here to bring you dynamic conversations with high-level individuals who are scaling 6, 7, and 8-figure businesses. We believe that every entrepreneur has a unique story and purpose that can inspire others and positively impact the world. And if you are an entrepreneur who's ready to share your journey and insight, visit scalingwithconfidence.com/guest to apply to be a guest on the show. You are going to love this show. You're going to hear real stories from real people who are ready to inspire, challenge, and empower you. We don't just talk business strategy, we dive deep into the personal stories, challenges, and mindset that come with scaling a successful business. So let's go.
It's super exciting to have you here with me today, Tim Schmoyer.
Yeah, I could see you.
Yeah. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about you, Tim?
Well, my name's Tim Schmoyer, Cincinnati, Ohio area right now. I started on YouTube in 2006. I was dating a girl at the time and wanted a way to introduce her to my family back home across the country when I was in school. And so I figured out how to get footage off of this camera I had and onto YouTube, and we started making little videos of going out on dates, going out to movies, going out to parks and things. I turned these into little videos, put them on YouTube, and send the link to my friends and family back home as a way for them to get to know this girl. And this weird thing started happening as other people started watching, and I was a little concerned because back then you don't use your real name on the internet. And so I started like, how are people finding us? Why do they keep coming back? Why are they watching? And at that time, it was so brand new. Nobody, like, social media wasn't even really a thing yet. And so I was trying to figure out how it worked. I figured a few things out. We kept going, and I really loved it because I loved hearing all the stories of life change and impact that was happening through the stories that my girlfriend and I were sharing. And then it turned into, like, we ended up sharing like our engagement and our wedding and our honeymoon and our first house, our first job, and all that on YouTube. And before long, we were reaching about 1 million people a month on YouTube, which back then was unheard of. And I just was like, I love all the stories that I'm hearing from people who are being impacted by the stories that we're sharing. And we're reaching our 1 million people a month. What if I could help equip other people to reach their 1 million people a month with messages I don't have, and stories I don't have, and expertise I don't have? And I was like, what kind of life change could we scale at that point? So that's when I started my agency in 2013 to really help other creators grow and experience the same results that we have. And since then, I've done 3 YouTube strategy deals with Disney. I've done Warner Brothers, Batman, the Batman movies for Warner Brothers, HBO, eBay, Budweiser, a lot of big brands, a lot of big creators on YouTube with tens of millions of subscribers, all the way down to creators who are like just getting started. How do I get my first views, my first subscribers, and start experiencing momentum on YouTube? We've done about 20 billion trackable views for our clients so far that organically on YouTube that we can take credit for. And this has been a wild ride to get to where we are here today.
Wow.
Just sold the business as of this recording a few weeks ago to vidIQ, and that's been a fun journey as well. We get to start really scaling creator coaching and impact there way beyond what we were doing in our agency. So it's been a fun ride.
Wow, for sure. I don't want to just breeze through like you're just giving us, the synopsis of the story.
Yeah.
But the first question that I have from this, and I'm going to walk way back into selling to vidIQ and all that. But let's start with what kind of content? Like, tell us more about the content that you started with on YouTube.
Yeah, at first I was just making it for my family, right? So I wasn't even thinking about target audience. I wasn't thinking about growth. I was just thinking about like, here's this girl, and now we're going down the slide, and now we're going out to eat, and now we're at the park, and now we're at the parking lot of a movie theater, type of thing. I wasn't, but at that time, online video was so novel. This is novel idea that there wasn't a lot of competition, and people who were, and the algorithm, there wasn't even really an algorithm back then. The homepage was hand picked by people at YouTube, so it was a very different world. But yeah, that's how we got started, just making not too much thought. We didn't know YouTube was going to turn into what it turned into.
Beautiful. You know what I'm getting from that is, the fact that at the beginning of a new trend, it's is it great to jump in, right?
Mhm.
Can you tell us a little more about that? Obviously, things have changed now since you started, but
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about what kind of impact that has on a person's business.
Yeah, we talked about the first part too, what impact it had. Like, we didn't know YouTube was going to grow into be this thing. We certainly didn't know what we were doing, and nobody really did on YouTube at that time. We we just saw like, here's an opportunity. Let's just dip it. And the opportunity was, let's just use this to share our lives with our friends and family back home. And so it started off just more of like, just get started. Like, you might not understand it. You might not know how it all works. You might not know how the algorithm works today, and even what the breadth of the opportunity is. It's like, just get started with what you got. I had a camera that used magnetic tape. That's the type of camera I got started on. So you don't need fancy gear or anything. And it's easy to say, well, yeah, Tim, that's easy for you to say because like 2006 and blah blah blah. Here we are in 2022, and it's a different story. And it's like, it's not really like, there's more faces, there's more gear, but at the end of the day, like, just get started is what I would say. Now, in terms of the impact on the business opportunity, that's something that came along as I was doing YouTube. Well, I didn't, and I know this sounds bad. It's like all the wrong things to say in an interview like this, but I didn't have a strategy. I didn't have any goals. I was a youth pastor at the time. All my background is in like theology and ministry stuff, like so, very impractical tools for the marketplace outside of a 501c3 church organization, right? So I was just like figuring out as I went. I'm like, okay, like there's more people asking these questions. Like, how do I answer these questions? How do I figure them out? I don't know the answers, but I love just solving problems like this. And so there wasn't at first like a big business opportunity. It was just more of a, I like helping people, and this looks like a way I can maybe help people. So sorry for the letdown, but there wasn't anything too deep there.
Well, I don't know if I'm going to agree with that because when you're coming on to social media and you're trying to help people, you have whatever it is that you have is very valuable, and you were leveraging that. Like, so you were a pastor, you loved helping people, and you were always helping people, right? And
Yeah.
so that passion, I believe, was the drive behind, the people
Sure.
that you began to help,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I think that's true. Like, and one what business ultimately is just a way to sustainably continue to help people and serve people. And I love it because business is like a win-win-win, because I win because they're serving my family, they win because I'm serving their family, and then their audience wins because now they're being impacted better because I was helping them spread more and grow their business, right? So it's like, it's a win for their audience, it's a win for our clients, it's a win for, I love it. It's just like, it's a great way to have like see a ripple effect in how we're serving people impact others that impact others, and it's it's just a lot of fun.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Now, take us back to how it felt when your family began to see that this thing was becoming a thing.
My immediate family, like my wife and
Yes.
I, or like my extended.
Your extended
Oh
family.
yeah, that's a different story. My extended family. So we were doing YouTube for a long time, for years before, like even before there was a partner program and there was ads on. It was just it was a very different world. And I remember in 2011, 2010, it kind of gets a little blurry, but somewhere around there, um, when I lost my youth ministry job, and I had a blog and I had a YouTube channel. That's all I had. Like, I had severance for 4 weeks that expired on Christmas Day. So, and the rest, everyone else is like opening presents and having a good time and eating good food. My wife and I are looking at the pantry thinking, like, how are we going to stretch this? How are we going to make rent? And so it was a very different year for us. And so I just had the channel and I just had the website. And there was some money. There was a partner program, which back then it was invite only, and I was invited into that at YouTube. But I was like, I got to make something work. Like, we need to get money, and to get like a youth ministry job usually takes several months of interviewing, and that was Christmas. They don't even usually start hiring until like midsummer to fall anyway. So I had like a whole year now to wait. So I was I was like, I don't really have a choice. I got to make the website and the blog and the channel turn into something. And it's interesting when you have your back pressed against the wall, and you have, at that time we had 2 little kids, and it's hopefully any father would do for their family is like, I don't care what it takes. I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna kill it. I'm gonna drag it home, and we're gonna make this work, right? There was no plan B. There was no safety net. There was no backup option. There was no rich aunt to like bail us out. It was just, I had to make this work because there was no other choice. And so I think when you're in that type of position, you work differently than if you kind of have like a backup plan in the back of your head. So there's more desperation. There's more like, this has to work. And that drive, I think, is part of what helped me make it successful in the very beginning, because I had to make it work, and I had to make 1 + 2 = 4. Like, I had to make things just grow. And so the business opportunity, I think, started then. I kind of forced it to. But then as time went on, other people started seeing YouTube as a business opportunity, which worked out well for me. And when I started my agency in 2013 for video creators, there was 2 people I remember. They're like, is someone going to tell Tim that you can't make money on YouTube? Like, is someone going to tell Tim that he still needs to support his family while he plays on the internet? There's some people like raised eyebrows, just kind of like, and even 2013, that was a very prevalent, even today in 2022, there's people who are like, what? So I did get those types of comments and those types of like, hey, Tim, you got to be responsible here. And I was like, I think I'm being responsible, but I'm also more excited about the opportunity here to reach people and change lives. I'll figure out the business side of that as I go, best of my ability. And so I didn't have any money, so I bartered business coaching with a lady who wanted YouTube coaching. So we met every other week, I think. No, every week for an hour in Skype. That was like there was no Zoom yet, right? Things like that. And I would help her 1 week with her YouTube strategy and growth strategy. And then next week she would introduce me to internet marketing and lead magnets and sales, email sequences and pricing and all, and like help me like understand the whole world of tracking sales funnels online and everything, and help me develop a brand that more easily and quickly attracted the right people. And so that was like invaluable to me when I didn't have any money. I found something I could barter with to make it work and start getting some momentum. So
and how did you find this lady?
She reached out to me. She was like, hey, I heard that you can help me with some YouTube strategy. And so I was like, yeah, I can. Like, at that time, I didn't have pricing figured out or anything. I'm like, yeah. And so we talked, and she told me, I'm like, oh, well, I know what we could do here, because I was honest with her. This is where I'm at. I'm figuring this all out. And she was at a place too, which she much preferred a barter than like just paying me. So, yeah, just like keeping an eye out for the right opportunities, the right people. And I've done that a lot since then too. I actually gone out and looked for people. I'm like, you have a skill or knowledge that I need. I have a skill, knowledge that you need. can we just swap here? And I like it because it builds a relationship better and faster when both people feel like they're giving in that kind of way. And a lot of those people are still good friends of mine today. So.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now let's go back to the ethics, the work ethics that you had back then, okay? Because you didn't have anything, you didn't have clients coming in, but you were working. Take us back to that.
Mm.
Yeah,
How did I get my first clients and first people coming in?
exactly. You know, the kind of work that you did, maybe even day to day, so that we have an idea of what it takes to actually build what you did.
So there's how I did it then, and there's how I would do it now.
Mhm.
Right? The world's a little different. Back then, what I did is it was like just get as much attention as possible online, and then also connect with as many people as I could, and networking and shaking hands and meeting people. I remember, like, I don't know if you call it my breakthrough necessarily, but it was certainly part of a series of events that led to it. Again, my wife and I didn't have a job, and I was just living on savings, which was at that time I think it was $3,500 of savings in our savings account, and so my runway was very short. And I remember there's this event in LA, and I'm like, everyone I want to meet and connect with is at this event in LA. I were living in Minnesota at the time. I told my wife, I was like, it's going to cost me up like $2,000 for me to make this trip. And I don't know why my wife has been supportive, but she said, okay. So I took $2,000 out of savings and I made that trip. I made that flight. And when I was there, I connected with some people in person that I've been following online. We've had online conversations before, but then we got face to face. I was able to shake hands, have those conversations. And that trip turned into my first contract gig, which I didn't know. It was like a risk going into it. And it wasn't even an idea. I'm just like, I just need to connect with people, kind of, at this event, and get my name out there, get my face out there, and so I did, and yeah, so that was my first contract, which was great. It wasn't a lot, but it was like, oh, okay, there's money coming in now, and I way undercharged myself, undersold myself, but yeah, that's how you learn, right? So started with that, and it was like more of those types of risks, but calculated risk that I think like this is going to be a big step for me. It's going to be a big financial step, or this is going to be a big use of time. And sometimes they don't always pan out. Like some of them like set you back really far. But I think that's what separates the entrepreneurs from the employees. The people who are like, you know what, I'm going to take a big risk. I'm going to start my own business. I'm going to do something that most people would say, this is a little crazy. And I'm like, yeah, and I think that's what it takes to actually get something going, because if it didn't include a little crazy, more people would be doing it and more people would be starting businesses and finding success, right? So it is a risk. It can sometimes work against you and you can have a setback. But so I forget what question I'm answering, but that's how I got, it's the day to day. So yeah, it was a lot of just like getting attention, being present online. It was posting, but it wasn't like attention getting in the sense of like I'm trying to go viral. It was more like there's this person, I'm trying to get their attention, or there's like this group of people, or this organization, or there's it was like more things like that. It wasn't like, look at me, I'm trying to get popular. Can I get to 1 million views so I can hopefully land a client? It wasn't like that. It was, how do I get that person's attention? How do I get on their radar? How do I land a deal with this person? Oh, I see what they're doing. I would love to be a part of that. How do I position myself to be a part of that, right? And so it was more intentional about like one-to-one or one to a few than it was. Because you guys know, it's like as content creators and people growing businesses, especially, it's more important that you're in front of 10 of the right people than a football stadium with the wrong people. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, who are those right people that I need to be in front of? Not in like I'm trying to extract value, but in a way that I can genuinely give my best value to you, and this and you have value to give me. Like this would be a great partnership to help get things started.
I love that. Thank you. And I'm very itchy to know what that first contract was. Like when you traveled to LA for that conference, what was that contract?
So that was a guy that I had been talking with. So back then, there weren't too many people talking about online video yet. It was just me and two other guys primarily. And one of those, I'm still in touch with both of those guys still today, actually, which is fun. But one of those guys had a website called Reel REEL SEO.com. So it was like video SEO. And we've been talking and emailing and phone conversations. So I was like, hey, you wrote this on your blog, but what about this? Or how does it? And so we had like these conversations going back and forth. We were trying to figure it out. So that's how I started building the relationship, offering value to his community and to what he was doing, and bringing recognition to that, and bringing a lot to his brand and to his understanding of how online video worked too. So I flew out there, and I met with him. I still remember we had dinner at this restaurant. We were sitting there, and I was like, his name's Mark. I was like, Mark, you write about online video. You do a lot with it, but you don't actually do anything with video. Like you don't make videos. You don't post them on YouTube. I'm like, don't you think that would help you be more credible? He's like, yeah, but I'm just so embarrassed. Like I don't want to be on camera. I just feel uncomfortable on camera, and I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. And to his credit, like he knew where his lane was. His lane. He's like, he likes building websites. He likes writing. He's interested in video, but he's like, I want to stay in my lane. And so I was like, so I proposed to him. I was like, but what if you contacted me and I made videos for your YouTube channel for you, and it gives you more content for your blog and things to do. So he's like, yes. So he's like, shoot 2 pilots for me. So I did. I 2 different series. One was like news, what was happening in the online video industry, and then the other one was just like we called creator tips, like what's happened, like it was a tip to help grow your channel from a marketing perspective. And so I had a 2 weekly series for him called The Real Web and Creator Tips, and I shot a pilot of each of those in my basement and sent them over to him. He's like, love them, let's go with both of them. So then he contracted me to do those 2 weekly videos for him and his channel that provided more content for his blog. It gave more credibility to his blog, and so that's how it got started.
So it's even comes back to you trying to help him, right?
Yeah, I was like, dude, like, yeah, you're writing about this, but you're not doing anything with it. Like, I think you could be more credible if you actually did video, and that's how. Yeah.
Amazing. There's so much we could do just in helping people.
Yes.
and when you help enough people, you're going to actually get what you're looking for, right?
Right. Yep,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's amazing. Now bring us now to how things began to grow, and to the point where you started getting to clients like Disney and
Okay.
and all.
Same principle, actually. Disney didn't know who I was. They didn't care who I was. But I was in touch with this guy. It's actually the guy who later bought our company, but this was back in 2013, I believe, right when we started the agency. And I was talking with him, and I can't share the whole story publicly, but basically it was like, hey, we've got these clients, and they're asking us to do some stuff that we're trying to do for them, but maybe you can help us do it better. And so Mark's the guy who put me in touch with this guy, and with Rob. And so I was like, yeah, I'll give it a shot. And so it was through Rob that those contracts came to me, and I took my best crack at it, and the feedback I got was like, oh my gosh, this blew them away. This was so valuable for them. This was amazing. And because that one went so well, that led to another one, which led to another one, which led to another one, and another one. And it was good money, for something that took me about a day and a half, maybe 2 days to do. It paid more than some people make in several months of work. So I was like, it was, again, through connections. It was through being available, being accessible, and genuinely wanting to help people. One person referred me to another, which referred me to another and another. And that's kind of how the whole thing got started.
Amazing. I can see a trend of, this summit is about scaling with confidence. And I could see the connection between people and confidence. How each of the people that you were connecting with was bringing confidence to keep moving on.
Yeah.
To higher levels, right?
Yeah, it's a combination of both of those. It's connection and confidence.
Yeah.
conveniently, another C word works out to be, but because it's the confidence to be like, I can do this, but you have to deliver too. I mean, now I'm kind of, gratefully on the different end of this, where I get to like give and help other people who are kind of up and coming, like other people did with me, and there's some people who connect well, but just don't deliver, or they're really good at marketing and convincing you of something, but the other side is just fluff. And especially as more and more people are entering the space, like you gotta be good at what you do, and you gotta do it really well. And then there's some people who do what they do really well, but on the personal side, the connection side, you're like, I just don't really like this person. I don't trust them, And so there's a level of being able to connect with people and making them feel something that earns trust, that they then want to give you a chance to make with you too. So you need both. And the thing about the work part is that I know that everyone who's reached out to me thinking like, hey, I can do this for you, Tim, they all think they're the best in the world at that thing, but they're objectively just not, and it's not just my opinion. Like I can look at it and be like, that, I'm glad you're excited. It's kind of like when your kid draws you like their first paint picture and you're like, oh, thank you, put it on your fridge. But you're like, as a parent, you're literally the only person who feels that way about that drawing, right? So they feel that way about what they're delivering to you, but it actually has to be good. Now, it doesn't mean you can't stumble and fail a few times and try some things and learn some things the hard way. I certainly did as well. But there does need to be a drive to get better and to become the best in the world at this thing, so that not only so that the connections you're developing actually work out for you when they goes into a contract or to a deal or to a service you provide or something like that.
And from what you just shared now, I'm seeing another trend around focus. Because if you jump around and try to be everything for everyone, you're also going to get fired. I mean, get burned, right?
Absolutely, and not make much money. Yeah. So quick little story. I remember it's about 3 years into my business, and I remember reading a book called The Pumpkin Plan, and by Mike Michalowicz, and I'm on a treadmill at the YMCA. I'm listening to the audiobook. I'm looking, and I had this epiphany moment when I'm listening to this audiobook. He describes the way you grow a prize-winning pumpkin / business is you need a prize-winning seed / idea. And you plant that seed / idea, and you water it, you nurture it, and it begins to grow. As that vine begins to grow, a lot of different vines will grow. A lot of different pumpkins will grow on that vine. And the way you get a prize-winning pumpkin is you have to cut off the pumpkins on the vine that are smaller, so all the nutrients can go to growing the big pumpkin. And in business, he says those other little pumpkins are what he calls, they are distractions that are disguised as opportunities. And I was like, oh man, I have so many of those. Because right then I felt tapped. I felt completely like I had a plate spinning on every finger and every toe, and I couldn't afford to let any of them drop because every one of them represented revenue. And at that point, like I was making enough to live, but I wasn't making enough to be able to get ahead and to hire some help and to grow the team and expand what we offer and things. And so I felt stuck. I felt like I was the bottleneck, of which I felt that many times. There's different stages you feel that in your business, but this is the first time I felt it. And I was looking at what we were doing, and when I got the business started, I was kind of like, what do I need to do to make money? Like anything. Like someone who's willing to give me money, I'll do it, almost, like, right? And so we were doing channel management for these clients. I was just doing consulting for these clients and these people, or I was just kind of answering, like at the end, I think it was like $80 an email or something like that, And I was doing all these different things, and the way you grow a prize-winning pumpkin / business is you have to become the best in the world at something. There's a lot of, especially among creators, a lot of talk that you need to have, like, they boast that, and I used to too. Like, I have 15 different revenue streams for my channel. I make money this way, that way, that blah, 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 blah. Affiliates and product sales and services and ad revenue and membership sites, and right. But the people who make 7 figures don't get there because they do 15 things mediocrely. That's the word. It's because they do one thing, and they're the best in the world at that one thing. So I remember being at treadmill thinking, what do I want to be the best in the world at? And so when I defined what that was I want to be the best in the world at doing organic growth YouTube strategy for creators and businesses who have a mission behind what they're trying to do on YouTube, to really genuinely serve people and help people and spread a message that could change people's lives. I want to do that. And so I went home, and again, told my wife, I'm like, hey, I want to fire about 30% of our clients and cut our revenue down to an unsustainable level. Is that okay? She's like, I don't know. We had 7 kids in 8 years, so she was probably just so tired she didn't realize what she was saying. But she did, and I know, she knows these stories, and she's, she knew what she was. She wasn't just checked out. She was definitely engaged, and she just trusted. So I was like, whew. So I'm very blessed to have a wife like that. But so we did. I fired, and it was not fun. It did not go well for those relationships. It did not make me look good. But I knew that in order for me to move forward, I needed to start creating systems and processes that be reproducible and scalable. And when you have a lot of different things going on, it's really hard to make a lot of different systems and processes all work equally as well for a lot of different things. So we scaled back, and eventually our funnel just went to 3 steps. We had product A, product B, product C. That was it. And we didn't do anything that veered outside of those 3 things. And one was just an online course. So it was really just 2 in terms of sort of a group coaching program and a one-on-one program. So outside that, we were like, if it doesn't fit into this thing, we don't do it, because those become just opportunities that are just disguised as distractions that are disguised as opportunities. So
I love
really
that.
important lesson.
I love that. I love that. Now, take us now to the place. First of all, great to have an amazing spouse that supports you and understands what decisions that you're making. So you're blessed for sure. Now, take us back to how it grew to a point where you sold your business to vidIQ.
How did I grow the business to a point where someone was willing to buy it?
Exactly.
So that's a good question. This is all very new and fresh and recent for me. But if you're not picking up on it yet, I like to read business books, and not just business books, but other business books too that will help me. And so one of the books I read years ago is called Built to Sell. And in that book, and then another one called E-Myth, Revisited. Both of those books are like critical if you want to grow a good scalable business that serves you, your family well, other people well, and can become sellable one day. Both of those are really important books. So, in both of those books, one of the things they drive home is that, like I've already mentioned, you need really good systems and processes. And I realized, like, okay, for me as like a thought leader, as an expert in like YouTube space, everything's kind of like right here in my head, and I'm going to be the bottleneck again. Like, how do I actually grow this to be like where other people can get the same results for creators as I can? I'm like, how do I take over a decade of experience and like, how do I get that out of my head and into someone else's head? And then how do I make sure I don't lose that person as an employee? You get like, so all these skills. And so both of those books talk a lot about systems and processes. And so first, it just started with me systematizing my video editing. I'm like, I can get that off my plate. And so I would start like, how do I, because I hear this a lot from creators, like, well, no one else can edit the way I do. No one else like knows how I envision this. I'm like, well, that's your problem, man. Like, that's not theirs. Like, you got to figure that out. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck here for a long time. So I just started screen capturing myself editing, and I would just talk through why I'm cutting here and not here, and I would say like, oh, we need music to ramp up here and not there, and I would just go like just talk out loud about every decision I was making and why, and I did that like 5 times, and when I hired an editor, I was like, I'm trying to put this into a system and process. Can you watch? And I paid her to watch these like 5 2-hour screen caps each, so like 10 hours of screen capture of me editing, and then she's like, oh yeah, I'm starting to see the system and the process, and so we start systematizing that. Same thing with like, how do I find the right person who could be a YouTube strategist on my team, and how do I get them up to speed where they can be qualified to work with channels that have millions of subscribers. Mm-hmm. And so I had to figure out a system for that, and the system for that was different. It wasn't like a check step 1, step 2, step 3 in terms of this is everything I know and you got to memorize it somehow. Instead, it was like, I need to train you how to think the way YouTube thinks, and I need to train you in how to problem solve and make decisions that lead to the right answer for the client. And so I systematized that process too. And now we can, if I hire the right person, and there's qualifications that make it the right person, but they can be in about 3 months be at a place where they are at a place where they can work with multi-million subscriber channels and help them with their strategy. 3 months of full-time training. And the right person, by the way, doesn't necessarily need to have any experience on YouTube before. Mm-hmm. It's more about how they think and how they work and things like that. I can get from that. So anyway, it's in eMyth, he talks about the reason you can go into any McDonald's anywhere in the world and get a very similar experience, a very consistent product, is because every McDonald's has a systematized process where you go in and you make your order, they put it in the microwave for X number of seconds, they take it out, they put it in the deep fryer for X number of seconds, they beep, they take it out, and so that it's just rinse and repeat to the point where almost anyone can follow your checklist, and if it's a good checklist, they'll get to the point where like the result that you wanted to reproduce is reproduced consistently every time. So I had to do that for everything in my business. Now that doesn't mean I did it all. There's people where I'm like, hey, you got to solve this problem, and once you solve it, you need to create the SOP, the standard operating procedure for how you do this. And then I ended up hiring one person on my team, Grace, and half of her job is just making sure that all those checklists and processes stay up to date as things change. So when it comes to selling a business, someone's not just buying, and there is like it's called acqui-hire, where they just want to hire the talent, but you don't get as much money for that because it's still stuck in someone's head. They're like, okay, I want you, but there's this barrier in the way. I got to buy your business in order to get you. And if they want you bad enough, then that could happen. And that was certainly part of this amount of part of the deal with vidIQ that I got is like they wanted me and they wanted our team and our experience. But we also had a lot of intellectual property. It was all systematized. Here's how you grow a channel. Here's what you do when you look at their data and their analytics. If you see this, this is the action step they need to take. If you see this, this is the action step they need to take, right? And so we would create literal checklists for our clients of here's what you need to do next on your YouTube channel to reach this goal by the end of 3 months, right? So, let's make it scalable just for your own mental health and success. It needs to be checklists. It needs to be processes. It needs systems that reproduce results every time. And the more of those you have, and the better they are, and the better that you can prove that they consistently reproduce results, the more valuable another company who wants what the value that your company creates, more valuable your company becomes to another company who wants that inside of their organization for one reason or another. So I've been rambling on that for a while, but yeah, systems. If there's a lot to it, but systems is primarily the main important thing that you need just for a good, healthy business, regardless of whether or not you're selling it.
Very good, very good. Thank you. And now with vidIQ and all of that, I know you represent vidIQ now.
Yeah.
Is there anything that new scaling entrepreneurs need to know about vidIQ?
vidIQ is currently a suite of tools that you can use to grow your channel. Provides a lot of insights into what's happening there, and a lot of tools to use to see what other channels are doing to grow their channels, like channels that maybe competitors of yours or things like that. It's a data analysis tool that pulls in a lot of data from your channel and YouTube in general, and it uses their mountain of data that they have to make predictions and things about what you need to do to grow your channel. That's what it currently is, but in the future, it's going to be that plus a lot of the intellectual property that we had in terms of A plus B and C equals D on your channel, and that'll be plugged into your data so that when YouTube looks at your data inside of it, or when vidIQ looks at your data and pulls that in, they'll be like, oh, this is what's happening on the channel. Here's what you need to do next to get to that milestone on your channel. So they're going to automate basically everything that we were doing manually for our clients. They're going to build tech around automating all of that. So it's way more accessible, way more scalable to more creators than it was when we were just doing it manually by copying and pasting from analytics into a spreadsheet, things like that. And then it'll also include a level of coaching at some point too, which is something that our team at Video Creators learned how to scale and reproduce that. And so we're going to start scaling that inside of vidIQ at some point in the future. And depending on when you're watching this, what's in the experience of vidIQ now will be very different than what it is in the future. I wish I could talk more about it, because every time I talk to them, their eyes get big or their mouths drop open. I'm like, I want to talk about this more, but I have to keep it at a very high generic level right now. But I'm really excited about the opportunity of what they want to use us for inside of their software, and Could be a game changer. So you want to be along for the ride. The sooner you sign up, the more you can see like, oh my gosh, this is really different. This changed pretty dramatically.
Awesome, awesome. And is there a last thing, one final thing that you want to tell someone that is in their business right now and they're looking for how to scale to consistent 10K months and beyond? One last thing.
10K a month. The one thing I would say is to focus on one thing that's going to get you there. 10K a month, and this is going to sound weird if you're not used to this world. And I don't mean to be degrading it, but 10K a month isn't that big of a deal. If you can get one 10K monthly client, now you want more than that, obviously, because all your eggs are in one basket if your goal is 10K. But it's focused on the one thing. I did this several times in my business when I would work up to a point and like, okay, I'm at a roadblock or I can't get to the next level. As I would be like, okay, what is the thing? If I want to be here, how do I think I need to get there? Let me reverse engineer that and then put a plan in place. And if it required extra time, then I would either eliminate things that that used to be opportunities, but now are distractions. Or I'd be like, my wife, I just gotta like work late for the next 2 weeks or something, or 5 weeks or whatever it is. We would put a date on the calendar. I'm not doing this perpetually. Like it's just from now until then. And then we would move forward with a little extra energy for me to get us over that hump, do that thing. So I think it's really about doing one thing strategically and intentionally that you think if you do this thing, that will get you there. And sometimes that's a risk too, because you get there, you're like, that was the wrong thing, or it didn't work, or whatever. But just doing too many things, people are like, I'll do this program and this program. Like you're not starting as a multi-million-dollar business. You're starting as like a $10,000 a month business, and so just do that one thing that gets you to 10K.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Tim, for doing this. I'm super excited, and I really appreciate this.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. I appreciate hanging out with you guys and all of you guys. If you want to grow your channel faster, we'd love to work with you at videocreators.com too. We're still doing that for now. I don't know how much longer.
Thank you so much for listening to Scaling with Confidence. If you'd like to be featured on this show, check us out at scalingwithconfidence.com/cashflow and attend my next live challenge where I'll reveal the 3 secrets to increasing your visibility for more profit. And if you're an entrepreneur that would like to be celebrated for your success and be on this show, please visit scalingwithconfidence.com/guest. Keep shining. The world needs your light.